Hello, and welcome to Humor Me. I'm your host, Susanne Boitano. Tonight in the studio, or rather from Zoom, we have Michelle Elizabeth, and she is the founder of the Boston chapter of the International Order of Mrs. Ropers. And if you're not sure what that is, I'll give you a little background. From 1977 to 1983, a show called Three's Company hit the airwaves. It was based on a British comedy called Man About the House, and it became wildly popular. Its main actors were Joyce DeWitt as Janet, John Ritter as Jack Tripper, Suzanne Summers as Chrissy, Norman Fell as Stanley Roper, and then the breakout character, Mrs. Roper herself, Audra Lindley. And since then, it has become somewhat of a cult classic, and people are now dressing as Helen Roper, much to the delight of folks like Michelle and myself. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Michelle Elizabeth. How are you, Michelle? So, Michelle, how did you hear about the Helens and the Roper romps, and what got you interested?
Well, initially I was just trying to send memes because my partner is a landlord. And so I was comparing this to Helen and Stanley because he can be a bit on the grumpy side. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to send him Mr. and Mrs. Roper thing. And I came across this photo of somebody dressed like Mrs. Roper, and it was a very cool photo, but I knew that wasn't on. And I said, what is going on? And it said Roper romps. What is a Roper romp? And I kind of reached out to a very small group of old friends because I was trying to become social again after basically putting myself in hibernation, being a parent, and just you get so caught up in life and family and everything that you almost forget that you are this whole other person that deserves to go out and have a frosty adult beverage once in a while. So I reached out and I said, hey, you know what? We're going to meet at the Kowloon, and I want us to do a Roper romp. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to put it on Facebook and see what happens. And I figured there'd be a couple people at most. And I think a week before there was maybe 7. And I was so excited. I said, oh my gosh, we're going to have like 7 people there. That's incredible. A couple days before, the number kept going up and up and up. And then it was in the 70s. And I had a panic attack. What on earth do I do? 70 people, I never could have predicted that. I called the restaurant and I said, hey, so we might have 5 people, we might have 70 or 80. And they said, well, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. And we all showed up and they figured it out, and we had a great time, and there were so many people. Other chapters came and joined us. I didn't know that there was a New Hampshire chapter, and there were other local area chapters around, and it was very fun and exciting to kind of bring everyone together because apparently there'd been a lot of folks that wanted a Boston chapter, but nobody stepped up, and I sort of slipped into it by accident like Cinderella losing slipper. And I'm just really happy that I was able to fill that void. But what it means to women, there's so many different layers to this. The first one is when you get older, a lot of people live where they live, and you probably live there because you have a family or for whatever reason you are where you are. And I don't know a lot of people that have been able to make friends as adults unless their kids play sports. Or, maybe you don't have kids. It's still kind of tough to meet new people and just hang out. So a lot of what this does by putting on the caftan and by putting on the wig, it makes it more universal and brings everybody to the same level. Once this goes on, you're all Helen. There's no more, I'm from Chestnut Hill, I'm from San Diego, I'm from this place, that place. It doesn't matter what color you are, it does not matter what gender you are. You're Helen, and you are one of us, and you're going to be welcomed as one of us, no matter what. And to have that sort of inclusion in this day and age is so important. And older women tend to be considered invisible by some. So I am loving this new thing that's been trickling up the past couple of years of older women being fearless and out there and being more prominent. You're starting to see more older women on TV, and Demi Moore in The Substance. Oh my God, that was amazing. But
Indeed.
at the end of the day, it's just really nice to have people to hang out with. And you might not see people all the time. And there's certainly people that I only see at romps or if we talk to at romps. And it's funny because when you go there, you recognize them as Helens. If you pass them on the street, you wouldn't know who they were.
Right.
So, and it's just fun. We go out, we talk, we have a good time, and we plot, we plan. Well, maybe we're not that devious. I think the most we're plotting is maybe getting together more and having a drink at a tiki bar, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. How has your impression, what was your impression of the show when it was current, and has it changed now that you've sort of immersed yourself and you look back at it with adult eyes?
Yes. The show was in syndication when I was a kid. It was one of those things, you'd come home from school and you'd put on, it was probably channel 38 or channel 56 or one of those. And you'd watch Three's Company. I think it was on a night or something, right before dinner or right after dinner. And by the time I saw it, the show was already off the air.
Oh.
And the clothes were a little bit funny because it was the 70s. But it was so humorous, even to a kid. Jack Tripper was a goofball. Christy was so pretty. And the Ropers and Miss Curly were just hilarious, even though the jokes are going right over. I didn't understand it. I didn't know that there was, that you had a possibly hungry woman at home who was thirsty for a little bit more than Stanley was doing, despite all the hints that she was giving him. So all we saw was people who were just on notes. And it sticks with you because it's iconic. There was nothing else like that. And there still hasn't been anything like that. You have more inclusion, but this was very much ahead of its time. You didn't have older people being sexualized, dare I say it. Older people were just grandparents on shows or whatever. So to have Mrs. Roper as this virile woman portraying herself as sexy and still wanting to have these things that the young kids have, that was very rare. And that's part of why these romps went viral, I believe, because a different generation grew up with this, right? Because it was on the, well, you know, 1970s, but 1980s. But that whole generation was starting to get older. And instead of sitting back and just taking it, because I can remember hearing stories that you hit a certain age and, you know, you were tired and you got a watch and you were just expected to do certain things, wear your hair a certain way. And now you can be whatever you want to be at any stage. And if you're older and you want to go start a rock band, nobody's going to tell you that you're an embarrassed thought. Somebody might.
Right.
But power to you. You can do whatever you want. And age should not stop you from it. Menopause shouldn't stop you from that. Nothing. The fact that we can be so open about things that we couldn't be open about before, it's really a great time to be us.
That's good. Are you attracting any younger women, or what is the demographic? And you touched on that before, but who's showing up? Like, where are they in real life? More suburban, more city, more cultured, less cultured, or is it just like the TV viewing audience from that time?
I feel like it's a lot of people who might be fans of kitsch, and we love that. We've also have attracted some younger people that don't actually know Helen from the TV show, but they like the message.
Ah,
As there's an acceptance there.
interesting. And so what's the reaction? And I know a little bit because I was at the Kowloon. What is people who are not dressed up, not in character, what sort of reactions do you get? What's sort of the feel from other people? Because it's a lot to take in.
Actually brings a lot of joy. We get laughter, we get people smiling, people want photos. And that's great because we're just going out there doing our thing. And in the process, we're making other people happy.
Mm.
And that's all you could ever hope for. I mean, you're going out to have a good time. We're going out to have a good time. And the fact that we're all able to just project this happiness onto others is amazing.
Okay. Is that something you envisioned, or was that a bit of a surprise to you?
It was a huge surprise.
Huh.
I never expected the response that we would get.
Oh, that's great.
Never predicted it.
Yeah, I've seen it too, and it's amazing that people remember, even if they don't know the character, they just see something they want in on, because it looks freeing and it looks like it's accessible, and ultimately, we're having a good time. You know, you take 70 redheads, you know, with tiki drinks in front of them, people are like, that looks like something I need in my life, and so forth. Do you get a lot of recruits?
We get a lot of people that sign up for the site, and they come on board and stuff like that. And it's always nice to see new faces. We really have not been event heavy. Recently, we've pivoted more towards parades, because that's just a blast. But, you know, we do have other outings as well. The parades have had just such outstanding response, and everyone is into it. Some people hand out stickers or other things, and we had the one Helen that had the bubbles in a margarita glass that she was blowing. And that was wonderful. When we tried to have other events, they really didn't catch on the same way the first event did. And I don't know if that's a marketing thing, or it might be one of those things where people just say, oh, there'll be another one. I'll catch the next one. But we still keep having events go on. But what's happened lately is we've had more people just kind of plan their own thing, and they go on and they announce for it. And it's wonderful. I get to see the pictures, and
Right.
I like to be a part of it. I've helped some other local chapters kind of get started too, because someone will say, "Hey, we need an event in the Cape." I'm nowhere near the, you know, or the South Coast, or you know, even the Western chapter is really taken off.
Oh, that's funny.
They're doing fantastic.
Oh, spectacular.
Yeah. So, you know, ours is it's a big chapter, but we definitely need more butts in the seats.
Right. How many people do you have now?
It's almost 800
Wow.
in the group.
That's pretty good.
So
I mean, it's what, a year and a half, 2 years old now?
yeah, about that. It was brand new when we had that first event. It was only a couple weeks old.
Yeah. That's amazing work. And now for people who don't necessarily identify with Helen, there is a place for the other characters, right? You can come as Chrissy, you can come as Janet. So talk a little bit about that.
We had a lot of Stanleys that came to the first event, and there's been rumblings of people who want to be Chrissy or even Janet. Everyone is welcome, and I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to be anybody, sorry, if you don't want to be anybody from Three's Company, that's fine. We had a Charles Nelson Riley. So just whatever you identify with, just come along for the ride and join us.
That's great. So all inclusive, even non-TV characters can be part of it. That's interesting. So what is the basic, someone's sitting at home and they're going, all right, I want in, what is the costume composed of? What are some of the basic elements? Where can you get them? How can you get them? What are some sources to make yourself a la Helen?
Amazon is a fantastic resource. And you can get your wigs there. You can get your jewelry there. There's caftans on Amazon, but maybe they're not your taste. They get a little funky because you can look at something and it's a great price and then it'll say ships in 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. So
Helen wants it right away.
Helen wants it now. But what I would recommend, and I've seen going around on the boards, is Burlington Coat Factory is apparently a haven for the Caftanistas.
Oh, interesting.
So, and we're getting into summer season. That's the time for cover-up. So you might want to keep your eyes open for those, and maybe you can stock up and get some in your closet.
Right. A couple different looks. And do
Yeah.
you find that people really like study the character, or do they sort of go off script with just the general sort of red hair and bright clothing, or do are they meticulous about their reproduction?
Some folks are meticulous, but I feel that a lot of people want to take this character and kind of put their own spin on it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Like the flower that we have here, that came from another Helen. And that was one of the things they were giving out in one of the parades.
Perfect.
So I've adopted it, and it's part of my uniform now. And this is actually Helen Light because we get special jewelry and stuff that goes with it. But we got to save some for get you to come out.
Yeah, sure. So we're
We
looking
don't
at.
want to give it all away the first night we meet.
That's funny. So we're looking at a red wig, the glasses, chunky jewelry, a caftan or some sort of throw over. I know I've used colorful bathrobes and then cinched them accordingly in a pinch.
Yeah.
And then a red wig. And for a while there was some really good deals on red wigs. What would you say people should pay? What's sort of the price range for the wig? Because I know that it can vary and I don't want anyone, what's a good source for wigs under X amount of dollars? Is it Amazon again?
It is Amazon again. Try to read the reviews if possible, but I will tell you, there's no reason to spend a fortune on a wig. Absolutely none. This wig is almost 3 years old. It's fine. It's been to many events. I've sweat pretty heavily in it. And it's still sit up, and it's just fine. You don't need the Raquel Welch, whatever brand, I don't know, wig brand, but just get yourself something from Amazon, and you don't want to spend more than, I would say at the most, because of inflation, don't spend more than $30. I'd say don't spend more than $20.
More than $20. Okay.
But to each their own. Some of the things they have on there are actually stuff. And this came with jewelry that was perfect for the Mrs. Roper.
Oh, really?
So
That's outrageous. Oh my gosh. So what are some events that you have planned? What's next for Helen and her crew?
June 14th will be Boston Pride. It is our first time representing our city. So we are the Boston Ropers, Boston chapter, and we will be marching in Boston. So it's very exciting.
Oh, that's great.
The theme this year is Stonewall. So Helen is very on brand because, late 1960s, early 1970s.
Yes, for sure. And for our viewers, if they're not familiar with the plot of Three's Company, the premise was that Jack was going to live with two girls, but this was not acceptable as it would make him look like some sort of Lothario. So it was told to the landlords that he was gay, which was fairly taboo during that time. And actually, I believe ABC Fed Silverman passed on it, said, no, Middle America is not going to go for this. But then CBS did pick up on it. And then sort of the in-joke and how Audra Lindley, as her Mrs. Roper character, became iconic is that she knew and then was just sort of went along with the gag, whereas Stanley continually made sort of, crass jokes and innuendo. So it was one of the first sort of gay but not gay, in the closet, out of the closet, gay for convenience sort of tropes. And that's really speaks a lot to the time and how different it is now. But she has, because of that, would you say she has become a bit of a gay icon?
She's a gay icon because, not just because of her look, but this is one of the early pop culture examples of what we would today call an ally.
Ah, yes, that's a perfect expression for it. That's great. People are going to love you. They're going to love you. And do you have some 4th of July things coming up?
We are working on doing the July 4th parade in Lakefield and the North Shore Pride in Salem towards the end of the month. And we do also the Halloween parade in Salem.
Oh.
So any parades that are around, we like to try to be a part of. And we have a nice band that I encourage everyone to come up and see. And you just never know what you're going to discover when you join us.
Yes, for sure.
It's a lot of fun.
So will the Helens dress in Halloween costumes, or will that be the like how deep layered, how many layers can you go?
Well, there's situational Helens, right? So if you really want to manage it, you can be that time that Helen lost her captain and had to hide behind the bush. So, and we did have an evening where Helen at one of the events in the past.
Right. That's interesting. And you have a daughter, I'd like to mention. How does she feel about this role playing? Is yay, nay, mom's nuts? I love it.
She was actually pretty cool with it, I have to say. I wasn't sure what the response was going to be, but it's so normal to my daughter now that it's just like, oh, whatever. And so initially she's, what are you doing? But then I think one of her friends, she was on a video call with one of her friends, and I came home from an event because I usually get ready in the car before I go in wherever we're going to be. But on this particular night, I just drove home like this. And when I went in the house, she was on a video call with her friends, and the way her room was situated, her bedroom door was open, and she had the phone right there. And so when I opened the front door to the apartment, I was on full display. The person she was on with just burst out laughing and said, "What is that?" So, and then I told her, and the person she was talking to said, "Okay, I'm going to ask the parents about that." And the parents burst out laughing, and so everyone thinks it's just a fun thing.
That's great. So you were exposed unwittingly and all went well.
So it's the best you can hope for.
Yes, exactly.
I still have mom's spirit element, but I think this is probably the least fair thing I do according to the kids.
That's wonderful. So Helen in 2028, would she make a good president?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is the person that you want running your country. And one thing you can be sure, everyone's going to have a nice drink. Helen brings unity, togetherness, the regal beagle.
Right. That's wonderful. Do you think that show could exist now in some form, or do you feel it's very much a part of that time? Could it be brought back now in some capacity, like a reboot?
I would say in some capacity it's possible because there are still some very rural areas in this country. And that's one of the things that people don't really think about. You still have parts of the U.S. that are, fairly considered what you'd say country, and they just have, they might have agriculture or something else driving their economy. and of course they still have internet and things like that, but
Hmm.
there's not full-on acceptance of the gay community longitudinally
Hmm.
at the U.S. Obviously, people know it's real, and some people get really triggered by it. Other people are just kind of like, whatever,
Hmm.
aren't so emotional about it. I think that something like a modern day reboot, if it were successful and it was on a big network that everyone could have access to, I mean, maybe it might help change some people's minds. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being who you are, and that's one of the messages that we try to put out there. You know, my biggest thing in life, and I've raised my child this way. It doesn't matter what you like or who you love. It matters how you act. do whatever you want. Just don't be a jerk.
Beautiful. And on that note, I thank you very much, Michelle, Mrs. Roper, for
Thank you.
joining us today. And thank you for joining us today. And we will see you on our next episode. This has been Humor Me, and I'm Susanne Boitano. Thank you.